Montenegroses, everyone. So here we will tackle about the RFID, or the radio frequency identification. It is a low-end wireless device that people may not recognize as forming a computer network. So the RFID technology takes many forms used in smart cards, implants or pets, passports, library books, and more. The RFID is the wireless non-contact use of radio frequency waves to transfer data. Tagging items with RFID tags allows users to automatically and uniquely identify and track inventory and assets. We have the EPC, or the electronic frequency code. The form that we will look at was developed and the quiz of an EPC, or the electronic product code, that started with the Auto ID Center at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1999. An EPC is a replacement for a barcode that can carry a larger amount of information and is electronically readable over distances up to 10 meters, even when it's not visible. It is different technology than, for example, the RFID used in passports, which must be placed quite close to the reader to perform a transaction. The ability to communicate over a distance makes EPC more relevant to our studies. EPC Global was formed in 2003 to commercialize the RFID technology developed by the Auto ID Center. The effort got a boost in 2005 when Walmart required its top 100 suppliers to label all shipments with RFID tags. Widespread, widespread development has been hampered by the difficulty of completing or competing with cheap printed barcodes, but new users such as a driver's license are now growing. We will describe the second generation of the technology in this, informally called the FSC Generation 2. So wait for a minute. An FSC, or the electronic code, it is a unique number that identifies a specific item in the supply chain. The FSC can be associated with dynamic data such as the origination point of an item, or the data of its production. So as you can see in the illustration, so ang kanadeng barcode di ay nag-consist din na siya og either company code or product code, the unique serial number. The combination of it is the result of the electronic product code. So every item di ay kay has a distinct serial number, no? So capacity of its for 200 billion serial numbers per item class has 96-bit tag. So new business process based on tracking individual things. So bear in your mind that the kanang barcode consists na siya og either the company code or product code, then the unique serial number, and the result is the electronic product code. So kana tong brand ng mga kuano, mga pagkaon balo naman yung mga barcode, no. So inig swipe out din ana. So mao na mugawas na either ang prices. So mao na siya ang EPC. So next, we will proceed to the EPC Generation 2 architecture. The architecture of an EPC Generation 2 RFID networks is shown in the figure 4.37. As you can see, it has two key component tags and readers. RFID tags are small inexpensive device that have a unique 96-bit. So as what I've said earlier, it has a 96-bit EPC identifier and a small amount of memory that can be read and written by the RFID reader. So ang RFID reader mao'y na magbasa sa ato ang EPC katong 96-bit. So mo result na dito either ang price, no? So the memory might be used to record the location history of an item, for example, as it moves through the supply chain. Often the tags look like sticker, no? As you can see, ang tags more na siya sticker that can be placed on. For example, pairs of jeans on the shelves in the store. Most of the sticker is taken up by an antenna that is printed onto it. A tiny dot in the middle is the RFID integrated circuit, as you can see, no? As you can see, the illustration kanang gamay kayo nga dot, mao na siya ang integrated circuit sa RFID. Alternatively, the RFID tags can be integrated into an object, such as the driver's license. In both cases, the tags have no battery and they must gather power from the radio transmission of the nearby RFID reader to run. This kind of tag is called a Class 1 tag to distinguish it from more capable tags that have batteries. So this kind of tag dahil kay matawag ni na to Class 1. So don't forget that from the reader, it has the tag, box scatter signals, then the reader signals. So next, the FSC generation 2 physical layer. No, sa katong illustration nato ang ano na to siya box scatter. So atong makita diri ang atong purpose unsa dining box scatter. So the physical layer defines how bits are sent between the RFID reader and tags. Much of it uses methods for sending wireless signals that we have seen previously. There are two main differences from other physical layers that we have studied. The first is that the reader is always transmitting a signal. So don't forget this one. The first is that the reader is always transmitting a signal, regardless of whether it is the reader or the tag that is communicating. So either naraan ng duha, ang reader ba ni siya or ang tag nagsige og communicate. Naturally, the reader transmits a signal to send bits to tags. For the tags to send bits to the reader transmits a fixed carrier signals that carries no bits. So the tags harvest this signal to get the power they need to run. Otherwise, a tag would not be able to transmit it in the first place. To send data, a tag changes whether it is reflecting the signal from the reader, like a radar signal bouncing off a target or observing it. So as you can see, ang first day nato nga difference is ang reader is always transmitting a signals. So ang kanis niya nga first case is sige siya transmit sa signals. Bisan unsa pa ni siya, either ang reader ba ni siya or ang tag nga ilahang gisige communicate. So kani nga pamaagi kay gitawag ni siya og box scatter. It is differs from all the other wireless situations we have seen so far, in which the sender and receiver never both transmit at the same time. So the backscatter is a low energy way for the tag to create a weak signal of its own that show up the reader. So kung maoingon ganito og weak signal, low energy way for that tag, so mao na siya ang backscatter. For the reader to decode the incoming signal, it must filter out the outgoing signal that it's transmitting because the tag is weak. Tags can only send bits to the reader at a low rate, and tags cannot receive or even send transmission from the other tags. So the second difference is the very simple forms of modulation are used so that they can implemented on a tag that runs on very little power and costs only a few cents to make. To send data to tags, the reader used two amplitude levels. To send data to the tags. No? The reader uses two amplitude levels. Bits are determined to be either 0 or 1, depending on how long the reader waits before a low power period. The tag measures the time between low power period and compares this time to a reference measured during the preamble. As shown in the figure, 4.38 is a longer than now ones are longer than zeros. As you can see, the illustration. Tag responses consist of the tag alternating its backscatter state at fixed intervals to create a series of pulses in the signals, anywhere from 1 to 8 pulses. So as you can see, ang ato ang 1s kay taas ra kayo, then ang 0 kay mubo. Nya then atong backscatter is as you can see, ang 0 of 1 kay gamay ra kayo, no? So kani nga pamagi mao ni siya ang ato ang the second difference. So next is the FPC Generation 2 Tag Identification Layer. To inventory the nearby tags, the reader needs to receive a message from each tag that gives the identifier for the tag. This situation is a multiple access problem for which the number of tags is unknown in the general case. The reader might broadcast a query to ask all tags to send their identifiers. However, tags that replied right away would not be collide in much same way as the station of the classic Ethernet. So, as you can see, this situation is a multiple access problem. So, ang reader might broadcast ang query. Kaya para mangutana siya sa tanang tags nga mohatod ngadto sa identifier. No, as you can see the illustration that I've given. The closest protocol for the current situation in which the tags cannot hear each other's transmission is slotted aloha. One of the earliest protocols we studied, this protocol is adapted for use in Generation 2 RFID. However, tags that reply straight away would not collide in much the same way as stationed on the class Ethernet. The medium access control sublayer is a sublayer of the data link layer of the Open System Interconnections or the OSI. reference model for the data transmission. It is responsible for flow control and multiplexing for transmission medium. It controls the transmission of data packets via remotely shared channels. So as you can see in the figure 4.39, we have seen many ways of tackling the multiple access problem in the chapter. The closest protocol of the current situation or transmission is slotted in Aloha, no? As we have said earlier. So the sequence of messages used to identify a tag is shown in the figure 4.39. In the first slot, as you can see, refer on the illustration, okay. In the first slot, the reader sends a query message to start the process. Each query repeat message advances to the next slot. The reader also tells the tag that the range of the slot over which to randomize transmission using a range is necessary because the reader synchronizes tags when it starts the process. Unlike station and an Ethernet, tags do not wake up when the message at the time or of their choosing. The reason for this exchange is that the FPC identifiers are long, so collision on these messages would not be expensive. So instead, a short exchange is used to test whether the tag can safely use the slot to send its identifier. Once its identifier has been successfully transmitted, the tag temporarily stops responding to the new query messages so that all of the remaining tags can be identified. So once gani mananay maka-receive sa identifier or inig-repeat inighatag na to sa kita kani from slot 2, abot na siya diri sa ato ang identifier or the FPC identifier. So mga next nga mga slot, so no need na siya i-identify kay once gani na na-receive nga mga na gani naabot niya nga to, so it means sa mga nagsunod maura gihapon to, no? So no need na siya i-identify kay ang katong mga nagasunod pareha raman. So next we have the tag identification message format. The format of the query message is shown in the figure 4.40 as you can see at the illustration. As an example of the reader to tag message, from reader to tag message. The message is compact because the downlink rates are limited from 27 kbps up to 128 kbps. The command field carries the code 1000 to identify the message as a query. So, the next block, as you can see, DR from the mo nang nasa 1 under 1. DR, then ang 2 kay M and TR1. So determine the physical layer parameters for reader transmission and tag responses. For example, the response rate may be set to between 5 kbps and 640 kbps. We will skip over the details of these blocks as funds. Then come three fields, seal, session, and targets. So, mo na to. From DR, dayon M, dayon TR, 1, 2. Then, nabalik siya sa 2, seal, then ang session, mo nang 2, then target 1. as well as the readers being able to select a subset of identifiers. The tag keep track up to 4 concurrent sessions on whether they have been identified edge areas by using different session. Next is the most important parameter of this command is the queue. Kanang number 4. Queue. This field defines that the range of slots over which tag will respond from 0 to 2 queue. Finally, there is a CRC. Kanang number 5. To protect the message fields. At 5 bits, it is shorter than most RCS we have seen, but the query message is much shorter than most packets too. Tag to the reader messages are simpler, since the reader is a controller, or it is in control. It knows what message to expect in response to each of the transmission. The tag responses simply carry data such as the FSC identifier. So first, arita sa kuan kaning DR dayon ni M. Kani si DR, M og TR mo siya under sa physical layer. So ang tag selection mo ni siya ang cell, session, then target. So don't forget ang CRC. No, ang CRC is the purpose of this is to protect the message fields. So mo na siya ang protect sa message kung ma-filled siya. No? So don't forget that the tag to the reader message are simpler. No? So that's all for today. And thank you.